You'll wait outside. This entrance is for company leadership." Jennifer Adams said it without raising her voice, one hand already resting against the glass door as if the matter had been settled before Sophia Bennett could answer. The lobby of Halcyon Meridian Group rose behind her in polished stone, brushed steel, and 20-foot windows overlooking downtown Chicago, but Sophia remained on the sidewalk side of the executive entrance, a brown leather briefcase hanging from one hand and an appointment confirmation glowing on her phone. "I have a 9 o'clock meeting upstairs," Sophia said. Her voice was calm. Jennifer's eyes moved from Sophia's navy suit to the briefcase, then briefly to her face. "Someone will come get you if you're expected." The words landed harder than their volume suggested. Sophia felt the old instinct to straighten her shoulders. The same disciplined stillness years of military service had carved into her posture. She could have corrected Jennifer immediately. Instead, she held out the phone. "You can verify it." Jennifer barely glanced at the screen. Behind her, the security gate clicked open. A white man in a charcoal suit hurried toward the entrance, checking his watch. "Morning, Ms. Adams," he said. Jennifer's expression changed instantly. "Mr. Collins, they're waiting for you upstairs." No phone, no badge, no confirmation. She opened the same door she had just closed in Sophia's face. Collins stepped inside with a distracted "thank you" and disappeared toward the elevators. Sophia watched him go through the glass. Then she looked back at Jennifer. Neither woman spoke for a moment. The difference was too clean to misunderstand. Inside, phones rang softly behind the reception desk. Dress shoes crossed marble. An elevator chimed somewhere above them. Sophia could see a young receptionist staring toward the entrance, her attention shifting uneasily between Jennifer and a computer monitor. "Was his appointment verified?" Sophia asked. Jennifer's jaw tightened. "Mr. Collins is known here, and I gave you my name." "Ma'am, I already explained the procedure." Sophia looked at the executive entrance, then at the security scanner Collins had walked past without touching. "No," she said quietly. "You explained a procedure for me." Jennifer's expression hardened. For the first time, she studied Sophia as though calmness itself were a challenge. "If you continue making this difficult, I can have someone from building management speak with you." There it was, the immediate risk, dressed in corporate language. Sophia could either accept the humiliation or turn a quiet exclusion into a scene that Jennifer could later describe as disruption. Her fingers tightened once around the briefcase handle, then relaxed. She had learned long ago that restraint was not surrender. Sometimes it was the clearest way to see what another person would do when they believed you had no leverage. "My name is Sophia Bennett," she said again. "My meeting is at 9. Please check the full appointment." Jennifer exhaled through her nose. "Wait here." She stepped inside and let the glass door swing shut between them. Sophia remained where she had been placed, visible through the glass, but separated from everyone moving freely beyond it. At reception, the young employee hesitated, then typed. Sophia could not see the screen from outside, only the receptionist's face. Her eyes moved across whatever had appeared there. Then they widened. She leaned closer to the monitor and checked again. Jennifer was already walking toward the elevators, unaware. The receptionist rose halfway from her chair. "Ms. Adams," she called. Jennifer didn't hear her. The elevator doors opened. She stepped inside. Upstairs, beyond those closing doors, 12 senior executives were gathering around a long walnut table for the most important ownership meeting the company had held all year. At the head of that table sat one empty chair. Downstairs, the woman they were waiting for was still standing outside. Sophia stayed beside the glass entrance while the city moved behind her in muted reflections. A delivery truck rolled past the curb. Inside the lobby, employees crossed the polished floor carrying coffee and laptop bags, their security badges opening gates. Jennifer had decided Sophia did not belong beyond. She checked her watch. 8:53. 7 minutes remained before the meeting. She was not worried about being late. Not yet. What held her attention was the receptionist, who was still staring at the monitor as though one line on the screen had changed the meaning of everything she had just witnessed. Sophia knew that look. She had seen versions of it in conference rooms, federal offices, and military briefing spaces years earlier, the instant when assumption collided with information. Her service had taught her many things that never appeared on a resume. How to wait without appearing uncertain. How to listen while someone underestimated you. how to distinguish inconvenience from danger and anger from useful information. Most of all, it had taught her not to waste movement. So she did not pound on the glass. She did not call upstairs. She did not pull out another credential. She simply stood with her briefcase at her side and watched. The receptionist finally left her desk and approached the entrance. Her name tag read Emily Carter. She opened the door only a few inches. "Ms. Bennett." "Yes." Emily lowered her voice. "I am sorry. I am trying to confirm something in the system." Sophia gave a small nod. "Take your time." That answer seemed to surprise her. "Your appointment is definitely here." "I know." Emily glanced toward the elevators Jennifer had taken. "There is an access designation attached to your profile that I have not seen before." Sophia's expression did not change. "Then I would follow whatever procedure applies to it." Emily looked back at the monitor. "I need authorization to open the executive gate." "Then get authorization." There was no edge in Sophia's voice, only precision. Emily nodded and returned to the desk. Sophia looked down at her briefcase. The leather was worn slightly near the handle, not enough for anyone else to notice, but enough to remind her how long she had carried it. She could afford a new one. She had chosen not to replace it. Some things earned their wear. The gold watch at her wrist was older still. It had been given to her after she left military service, at a dinner so small that the restaurant had seated the entire group at one table. No photographers, no speeches worth remembering, just people who knew what it had cost to begin again. Years later, law school had taught Sophia a different form of discipline. Contracts instead of briefings. Negotiations instead of command structures. Corporate rooms where power rarely announced itself because the people who truly possessed it seldom needed to. That was why Jennifer's mistake interested her more than it offended her. Jennifer had seen a black woman standing alone with a briefcase and decided which side of the glass she belonged on. She had not needed an insult. She had not needed to mention race. She had simply created a rule, applied it to Sophia, and abandoned it when Mr. Collins arrived. Sophia wanted to know whether that was one bad decision or evidence of something larger. At 8:56, her phone vibrated. The screen showed 3 missed messages from the board secretary. "We are assembled. Please advise when you arrive." Then, seconds later, "Are you in the building?" Sophia read them without replying. She could end this immediately. One message would bring half the executive floor downstairs. One phone call would transform Jennifer's confidence into panic. Sophia slipped the phone back into her bag. Not yet. Through the glass, Emily picked up the desk phone and spoke quietly to someone. Her eyes flicked towards Sophia twice. Then she listened, straightened, and looked again at the access record. Her face lost color. "Yes, sir." Sophia heard faintly through the door. "She is here." A pause. "No, sir. She has not been admitted." Another pause, longer this time. Emily looked toward the elevators. Ms. Adams told her to wait outside. Sophia could not hear the response, but Emily pulled the receiver several inches from her ear before bringing it back. Upstairs, Jennifer was entering a boardroom filled with people who had no idea what she had just done. Downstairs, Sophia remained motionless beneath the morning light. She had spent enough of her life proving she could enter rooms others had never expected her to reach. Today, she was beginning to wonder what this company did to people who had no title powerful enough to force the door open. Jennifer Adams entered the 24th floor boardroom at 8:57 with the controlled pace of someone accustomed to having doors open before she reached them. The room was already prepared. 12 leather chairs occupied, tablets glowing beside printed briefing books, water glasses aligned along the long walnut table, and one chair at the head left deliberately empty. Floor-to-ceiling windows turned downtown Chicago into a pale geometric backdrop of steel, glass, and morning traffic far below. Jennifer noticed the empty chair but gave it no special attention. Her attention belonged to order. For 6 years, she had built her reputation inside Halcyon Meridian Group around exactly that principle. Meetings began on time. Visitors followed protocol. Employees respected hierarchy. Problems were handled before they reached the executive floor. In Jennifer's mind, what had happened downstairs was not discrimination. It was control. She had seen someone she did not recognize approaching an executive entrance, had made a judgment, and had acted on it. That explanation felt clean enough until the board secretary, Daniel Mercer, checked his watch for the 3rd time. "Has Ms. Bennett arrived?" he asked. Jennifer placed a folder beside her chair. Security is handling arrivals downstairs. Daniel looked at her. That was not my question. A quiet shift moved around the table. Jennifer recognized several faces from quarterly meetings, but others belonged to the ownership group and outside counsel. People who rarely gathered in one room unless the stakes justified it. Mr. Collins, the consultant Jennifer had admitted without checking, sat 3 seats from the end, scrolling through his phone as though he had been there for hours. Jennifer felt a faint irritation she could not explain. I saw an unverified visitor at the executive entrance, she said. I asked her to wait while reception confirmed her appointment. Daniel stopped arranging his papers. Her. Jennifer heard the change in his voice. A woman named Sophia Bennett. The room became still. Not dramatically. No one gasped. No one stood. The silence was smaller than that, and somehow worse. Collins lifted his head from his phone. An older board member slowly removed his reading glasses. Daniel stared at Jennifer for 2 seconds before reaching for his cell phone. You spoke to Sophia Bennett? She said she had a 9 o'clock appointment. Jennifer's confidence thinned around the edges. She did not have visible executive credentials. Neither did I, Collins said from across the table. Jennifer turned toward him. He seemed to realize what he had said and lowered his eyes. Daniel was already dialing. Jennifer looked toward the empty chair at the head of the table. A leather portfolio rested in front of it, embossed with the Halcyon Meridian crest. Beside it sat a name card turned slightly away from her. She could see only the last few letters. Bennett. Something cold settled beneath her ribs. Downstairs, Sophia remained outside the glass doors while Emily Carter held the reception phone with both hands. Mr. Mercer is calling now, Emily said through the partially opened entrance. Thank you, Sophia replied. I am sorry this is taking so long. Sophia glanced at her watch. 8:59. The meeting has not started without me. Emily blinked. Sophia had not meant the sentence as a threat. It was simply a fact, yet it seemed to deepen the receptionist's unease. Ms. Bennett, I can open the main visitor entrance for you while we sort this out. Sophia looked toward the wider set of doors 30 feet away. A small line of employees was entering there, tapping badges against the scanner. Was I supposed to use that entrance? No, ma'am. Then I will stay here until the original decision is corrected. Emily nodded slowly. Sophia's phone vibrated again inside her briefcase, but she did not reach for it. Through the glass, she could see her own reflection layered over the lobby. Navy suit, upright shoulders, composed face. Nothing about her appearance had changed since Jennifer first saw her. That mattered. Sophia did not want the door open because someone upstairs had finally attached power to her name. She wanted to understand why it had been closed before anyone bothered to learn who she was. On the 24th floor, Daniel's call connected. Emily, where is Ms. Bennett? He listened. His expression tightened. Still outside. Jennifer looked toward him. Daniel turned away from the table. Open the door immediately. Another pause. What do you mean she asked you to wait? Jennifer's stomach dropped. Daniel slowly lowered the phone and faced her. She is refusing special treatment. Jennifer frowned. What does that mean? Daniel did not answer. Instead, he looked toward the boardroom entrance as an assistant hurried in carrying a tablet. She crossed directly to him and whispered something too low for Jennifer to hear. Daniel took the tablet, read the screen, and then looked at the empty chair. Around the table, conversation had disappeared entirely. Jennifer could hear the ventilation system and the faint click of Collins setting his phone face down. She finally reached for the name card at the head of the table and turned it toward herself. The printed words were simple. Sophia Bennett, principal shareholder. Jennifer stared at them. Downstairs, the elevator indicator began descending from 24. Someone was coming to get the woman Jennifer had decided should wait outside. The elevator reached the lobby with a soft chime, and Daniel Mercer stepped out before the doors had fully settled. He crossed the marble floor quickly, but Sophia noticed that he slowed as he approached the glass entrance. Employees passing through the security gates recognized him and moved aside. Jennifer might have expected him to open the door immediately and escort Sophia upstairs with apologies. Sophia did not. She remained exactly where Jennifer had left her, one hand around the worn handle of her briefcase, morning light falling across the shoulder of her navy suit. Emily stood behind the reception desk, visibly relieved to see someone with enough authority to resolve the situation. Daniel reached the door. Sophia. His voice carried concern rather than ceremony. I am sorry. I just learned you were still down here. Sophia met his eyes. Did you? Daniel understood the question beneath the question. Yes. He glanced toward Emily, then toward the security station. Please come upstairs. Everyone is waiting. Sophia did not move. Before I do, I need you to answer something. Daniel's hand remained near the door handle. Of course. Sophia looked through the glass toward the path Mr. Collins had taken minutes earlier. What was the access requirement for this entrance at 8:53 this morning? Daniel hesitated. A confirmed executive appointment or an authorized employee escort? I had a confirmed executive appointment. Yes. Mr. Collins did not show one. Daniel's silence answered before his words did. Apparently not. Sophia nodded once. Her expression stayed composed, but the quiet around them had changed. Emily stopped typing. A security employee at the far desk looked down at his monitor. Nobody needed Sophia to explain what they had witnessed. I am not asking because I need an exception, she said. I am asking because I want to know whether the rule changed in the 6 seconds between me standing here and Mr. Collins walking in. Daniel exhaled slowly. It did not. Good. Then we know where to start. He opened the door. Sophia stepped inside for the first time that morning. The temperature changed immediately, cool conditioned air replacing the summer warmth outside. Her shoes touched the polished stone with a quiet click. She could have walked directly toward the private elevators. Instead, she stopped at reception. Emily, when you search my name, what did the system show? Emily swallowed. Your 9 o'clock appointment first. Then an executive ownership restriction when I opened the full profile. And before you opened the full profile, it showed that you were confirmed. Sophia let that sit for a moment. Confirmed had been enough information. Everything after it had merely revealed how serious Jennifer's assumption had been. Thank you for checking, Sophia said. Emily looked surprised by the kindness. I should have checked sooner. You tried to speak. Sophia had noticed. Emily's eyes lowered briefly. Ms. Adams told me she had handled it. Sophia did not criticize Jennifer. She simply filed the sentence away. Daniel gestured toward the elevators. We are already past 9. Sophia checked her watch. 9:02. Then we should not keep them waiting. They crossed the lobby together. Several employees glanced toward Sophia, then quickly returned to their work. She could feel the atmosphere shifting ahead of her, information moving faster than footsteps through a corporate building. Daniel pressed the elevator button. Jennifer knows, he said quietly. Sophia looked at the illuminated numbers descending toward them. Knows what? Daniel turned toward her, uncertain whether the question was serious. Who you are? Sophia's gaze remained on the elevator. That is exactly the problem. The doors opened. They stepped inside. She should not have needed to know who I was. Daniel said nothing. As the elevator rose, Sophia watched the floor numbers climb. 12, 16, 20. She remembered rooms from another life where rank had been visible on uniforms and everyone understood exactly where authority sat. Corporate America preferred subtler signals, tailoring, introductions, names on doors, confidence borrowed from access. Yet the test of character remained remarkably similar. How did someone behave when they believed the person in front of them could do nothing for them and nothing to them? At 24, the doors opened onto a quiet executive corridor. Jennifer was waiting outside the boardroom. Her posture was still straight, but the certainty Sophia had seen downstairs was gone. For the first time that morning, Jennifer looked directly at Sophia instead of at the category she had assigned her. Ms. Bennett, she began. Sophia stopped several feet away. Jennifer's eyes moved briefly toward Daniel, then returned to Sophia. There has been a misunderstanding. Sophia felt something inside her settle. Not anger. Clarity was there. Jennifer opened her mouth, but no answer came immediately. Behind the boardroom doors sat the people who could remove executives, rewrite policies, and change the direction of a company before lunch. Sophia could have used that power now. Instead, she asked the same question Jennifer had avoided downstairs. Why was Mr. Collins allowed through? Jennifer's face tightened. He is known to the company, and my appointment was confirmed. I was trying to protect executive access. From me. The corridor went silent. Jennifer looked at Sophia's briefcase, then at her face, as though searching backward through the morning for an explanation that would make the unequal treatment reasonable. Sophia waited. She did not rescue her from the silence. Finally, Jennifer said, I made a judgment call. Sophia nodded. Yes, you did. Then she walked past Jennifer and reached for the boardroom door. Before opening it, she turned back. The question is what that judgment was based on. Jennifer stood motionless as Sophia entered the room, because for the first time, the greatest threat to her position was not Sophia's ownership. It was the answer Jennifer had not yet found the courage to say aloud. The boardroom fell silent when Sophia entered, but she did not look toward the empty chair at the head of the table. She noticed Mr. Collins first. He was seated comfortably with a cup of coffee beside his tablet, the same man who had arrived after her, shown no confirmation, and passed through the executive entrance with nothing more than recognition and a greeting. Collins rose when he saw her. So did Daniel. One by one, the other executives followed until every person around the walnut table was standing. Jennifer remained near the doorway behind Sophia, watching the scene assemble into a truth she could no longer reduce to a misunderstanding. "Good morning, Ms. Bennett," an older board member said. "Good morning." Sophia placed her briefcase beside the chair at the head of the table, but did not sit. Jennifer's eyes fixed on the name card in front of it. Sophia Bennett, principal shareholder. The words had already shocked her upstairs, but seeing Sophia take her place gave them weight. This was not a visitor who had exaggerated her importance. This was the woman whose ownership stake controlled the company Jennifer had spent years helping run. Sophia opened her leather portfolio and removed a thin folder. "Before we begin the scheduled agenda, I need 5 minutes." Nobody objected. Jennifer's face tightened. Sophia looked toward Collins. "Mr. Collins, when you arrived this morning, were you asked to show your appointment confirmation?" Collins shifted his weight. "No." "Were you asked for identification?" "No." "Were you told to wait outside?" His eyes moved briefly toward Jennifer. "No." Sophia nodded and turned to Daniel. "What does company policy require? A confirmed executive appointment or authorized escort for that entrance?" "Was my appointment confirmed?" "Yes." "Was Mr. Collins listed as my guest?" Daniel checked the tablet in front of him. "No." He was scheduled with operations at 9:30. A small movement passed around the table. Collins looked down at his coffee. Jennifer stepped forward. "Sophia, I can explain." Sophia turned toward her. "Please do." Jennifer had likely expected interruption, accusation, perhaps anger. The invitation seemed harder. "I recognized Mr. Collins. He has been here before. And you did not recognize me." "No." So recognition replaced policy for him. Jennifer hesitated. "In that instance, yes. But policy became absolute for me." Jennifer looked toward the board members. "I made the wrong call. That describes the result. I am asking about the reason." The room became quiet enough for Sophia to hear the ventilation above them. Jennifer clasped her hands in front of her. "You approached alone. I did not know who you were. There have been concerns about unauthorized visitors." Sophia kept her voice even. "Did I refuse to identify myself?" "No." "Did I refuse to show my appointment?" "No." "Did I behave aggressively?" "No." "Did I violate any access rule?" Jennifer's answer came more quietly. "No." Sophia let the silence remain. She did not need to name what everyone in the room could now see. The unequal treatment had already been reconstructed one decision at a time. Jennifer looked toward the windows, then back at Sophia. "I should have checked your appointment." "Yes." "I should not have assumed." Sophia's expression changed slightly at that word. "Assumed what?" Jennifer stopped. There it was again, the unfinished answer from the corridor. Sophia could have pushed harder. She could have forced Jennifer to confess something in front of 12 executives and watched the room turn against her. Instead, she closed the folder. "We will return to that question." Jennifer looked surprised. Sophia sat down, and the others followed. "Now we have a company to discuss." The meeting began, but the tension did not disappear. For the next 40 minutes, Sophia moved through financial reports, acquisition projections, and legal exposure with the quiet precision of someone who knew every important line before anyone else reached it. She asked concise questions. She listened without interrupting. When Collins presented a cost estimate, she challenged one assumption, accepted his correction, and continued without embarrassment or triumph. Jennifer watched from the side of the table as the woman she had left outside demonstrated exactly why everyone else had been waiting. Yet Sophia never mentioned the lobby again. That restraint unsettled Jennifer more than anger would have. At 10:12, Daniel reached the final item on the agenda. "There is one additional matter regarding the employee access review." Sophia looked up. "Good. Bring up the last 12 months of executive entrance incident reports." Jennifer's head turned sharply. Daniel hesitated. All of them. All of them. A spreadsheet appeared on the wall display. Rows of dates filled the screen. Visitor complaints. Delayed admissions. Credential disputes. Security escalations. Sophia leaned forward. What had happened to her that morning might have been dismissed as one person's poor judgment. But as she read the names, notes, and repeated phrases in the records, a pattern began to emerge. How many of these visitors were eventually confirmed as authorized? She asked. Daniel started filtering the data. The number appeared. Nearly 3/4. Sophia looked toward Jennifer, but Jennifer was no longer looking at her. She was staring at the screen. Sophia understood then that the morning had become larger than either of them. She had not discovered a closed door. She had discovered a system that had learned whom to question before anyone ever bothered to ask why. For several seconds, nobody spoke. The spreadsheet remained on the wall display, its pale rose stretching downward beneath the company logo while morning sunlight moved slowly across the walnut table. Sophia read the incident summaries without touching the keyboard. Delayed admission. Additional verification requested. Visitor redirected. Appointment not immediately recognized. The language was clean, professional, almost harmless. That was what disturbed her. Harm did not always arrive wearing an ugly name. Sometimes it arrived as procedure, repeated so often that nobody remembered who had first decided it was reasonable. Daniel filtered the records again. There are 86 incidents in the last 12 months, he said. 63 involved visitors who were ultimately authorized. Sophia looked at the screen. How many complaints were formally reviewed? Daniel entered another command. The answer appeared. 7. Jennifer shifted in her chair. Sophia noticed, but said nothing. She remembered standing outside less than 90 minutes earlier, watching Mr. Collins pass through the same door without producing anything she had been required to prove. She remembered the glass between them, Jennifer's hand against it, the quiet certainty in her voice. Wait outside. In another life, Sophia had learned that systems failed long before anyone admitted they were failing. A missed detail became a habit. A habit became a standard. Then one day, everyone looked around and wondered how something so obvious had survived for so long. Can we see the original notes? Sophia asked. Daniel opened the first report. A black software engineer from Atlanta had arrived for a vendor presentation and waited 22 minutes while his appointment was confirmed twice. Another record described a Latino financial advisor who had been redirected to the public lobby despite being listed for an executive meeting. A third involved an Asian American attorney whose credentials had been questioned until a senior partner came downstairs personally. Then came several reports involving familiar executives and consultants who had been admitted without documentation. Sophia did not react outwardly. She simply kept reading. Jennifer finally broke the silence. I did not know these reports showed a pattern. Sophia turned toward her. Did you know the reports existed? Yes. Did you review them? Jennifer paused. Not individually. Why not? Because access complaints usually go through facilities and security. My office only sees escalations. Sophia glanced toward the 7 formally reviewed cases. Then perhaps our definition of escalation depends too much on who has enough power to complain. Jennifer lowered her eyes. That sentence landed differently. Sophia could see it. For the first time that morning, Jennifer did not appear concerned primarily about her position. She appeared to be remembering something. There was a consultant last fall, Jennifer said slowly. A black man from Detroit. He said security kept asking whether he was sure he had the right building. Daniel looked up. Was that reported? He mentioned it to me after the meeting. What did you do? Sophia asked. Jennifer's face tightened. I told him I would speak with facilities. Did you? A long pause followed. No. Nobody moved. Sophia felt no satisfaction in the admission. Only wait. Jennifer looked toward the spreadsheet again. I forgot. Sophia's voice softened, though not enough to remove the accountability from it. He probably did not. Jennifer looked at her. The defensive certainty that had defined her downstairs was gone. Sophia recognized the moment because she had seen it in courtrooms and negotiations. The instant when someone stopped searching for an excuse and began seeing the consequence. Outside the windows, Chicago continued beneath them. Traffic moved along the streets 24 floors below. A train curved between buildings. Somewhere in the corridor, a printer started and stopped. The world had not paused for their realization. Sophia closed the folder in front of her. We are taking a 10-minute recess. Chairs moved quietly. Collins collected his tablet and left with two board members. Daniel remained long enough to ask whether Sophia needed anything. No, thank you. He nodded and followed the others. Soon only Sophia and Jennifer remained. Neither spoke. Sophia walked toward the windows and looked down at the entrance far below. From this height, the glass doors seemed insignificant. A few feet of architecture, nothing more. Yet she could still remember exactly how it had felt to stand on the wrong side of them while someone decided whether she belonged. Behind her, Jennifer spoke. You could have told me. Sophia turned. Told you what? Who you were. Sophia studied her for a moment. And then you would have opened the door. Jennifer's silence confirmed it. That is why I did not tell you. Jennifer's eyes dropped. Sophia continued, quietly. If I had said I owned the company, you would have treated me differently. But that would not have told me anything about how you treat someone you think has no influence here. Jennifer swallowed. I understand. Sophia shook her head once. I do not think you do. Not yet. She returned to the table and picked up the printed incident reports. This morning hurt my pride for a few minutes. Some of these people may have lost contracts, opportunities, or the belief that this company would ever see them fairly. I can walk upstairs and make people listen. They could not. Jennifer stared at the reports in Sophia's hand. The room remained bright, almost painfully so. There were no shadows left in which to hide the pattern. Sophia placed the pages between them. Read every one before we meet again. Jennifer looked at the stack, then at Sophia. And after that, Sophia picked up her briefcase. After that, we decide whether you are sorry because of who I am or because of what you did. Jennifer read the first report twice. Then she read the second. By the time she reached the 20th, the boardroom had emptied around her and the coffee beside her had gone cold. The language repeated itself with uncomfortable precision. Visitor appeared uncertain. Additional verification requested. Executive sponsor contacted. Access delayed. Each sentence sounded reasonable alone. Together, they formed something Jennifer could no longer dismiss as isolated mistakes. She reached the report from the black consultant from Detroit and stopped. His name was Marcus Reed. She remembered him now. He had arrived to advise Halcyon Meridian on a $70 million logistics project, wearing a gray suit and carrying the same presentation materials everyone else had carried that week. After the meeting, he had mentioned that security questioned him 3 times. Jennifer had promised to look into it. Then another crisis had filled her afternoon. Another meeting had filled the next morning, and Marcus Reed had become a forgotten sentence in an already crowded calendar. Jennifer stared at his complaint for a long time. At 11:45, she found Sophia in a smaller conference room reviewing acquisition documents with Daniel. Jennifer stopped at the open doorway. May I speak with you? Sophia looked up. Have you finished reading? Every report. Sophia closed the document in front of her and followed Jennifer into the corridor. They walked toward a quiet seating area overlooking the Chicago River. Jennifer carried the reports against her chest. She no longer looked like the woman who had controlled the entrance that morning. Her posture remained professional, but the certainty had drained from it. You were right, she said. Sophia waited. Jennifer took a breath. That is not enough, is it? No. Jennifer nodded as though she had expected the answer. I kept looking for a reason why this morning was different. Why I stopped you. Why I let Collins through. I told myself I recognized him. I told myself I was protecting the executive floor. I told myself I was following procedure. She looked through the window, then back at Sophia. But you had an appointment. You offered to show it to me. You were calm. You gave me every opportunity to verify you. And I still treated you as if you were the risk. Sophia's face remained composed. Why? Jennifer's fingers tightened around the reports. Because I made assumptions about you before I knew anything about you. Sophia said nothing. Jennifer continued. And I applied standards to you that I did not apply to a white man who walked in after you. The words were quiet, but Jennifer did not soften them. That was discrimination. Sophia watched her carefully. This was the answer Jennifer had been unable to say in the corridor. No excuse followed it now. No mention of pressure, security, or misunderstanding. Jennifer looked down at Marcus Reed's report. And this was not the first time I had the chance to notice. She handed the page to Sophia. He told me. I said I would do something. Then I forgot. Sophia glanced at the name. Do you think he forgot? No. Jennifer's answer came immediately. I do not. The silence between them lasted several seconds. Sophia could hear voices from distant offices and the faint hum of elevators behind the wall. What happens now? Jennifer asked. That depends. On whether the board fires me? No. Jennifer looked surprised. Sophia placed Marcus Reed's report on top of the stack. It depends on what you do when nobody is forcing you to change. Jennifer studied her. You have every reason to remove me. I have the authority to remove you, Sophia corrected. That is not the same thing. Jennifer looked toward the floor. If you keep me here, people may think there were no consequences. There will be consequences. Sophia's voice remained steady. Accountability is not humiliation. I am not interested in making you stand outside a door so you can feel what I felt. Jennifer looked up. Something shifted in her expression. She had prepared herself for punishment. She had not prepared herself for responsibility. Sophia continued. By tomorrow morning, I want an independent review of every access complaint from the last 2 years. Not just the 7 someone decided were serious enough to matter. I want the data separated by outcome, wait time, and whether exceptions were made. I want a reporting channel that does not require an employee or visitor to know an executive before someone listens. And I want you leading the corrective work with an outside compliance officer reviewing every decision. Jennifer blinked. You want me to lead it? You helped maintain the problem. You are going to help dismantle it. Jennifer looked at the reports in her hands. And if I fail, then we will know this was regret, not change. The words settled between them without cruelty. Jennifer nodded slowly. I understand. Sophia held her gaze. Do not do this for me. Jennifer's brow tightened. Then for who? Sophia looked toward the elevators, toward the floors below them, toward the entrance she could no longer see from here. For the next person who walks through that door without owning the building. Jennifer's eyes lowered for a moment. When she looked back up, there was no defense left in them. I am sorry, Sophia. Sophia did not answer immediately. Make the apology true. Jennifer nodded. Sophia turned to return to the meeting, then stopped when Jennifer spoke again. There is something else. Sophia looked back. Jennifer held up one final report, one that had not appeared in the filtered list on the boardroom screen because it had been closed without escalation. This one happened 3 months ago. Sophia took the page. A young black veteran had arrived for a job interview and waited 47 minutes after security questioned whether his appointment was legitimate. By the time someone confirmed it, the hiring manager had left for another meeting. The interview never happened. Sophia's eyes stayed on the words black veteran. For the first time all morning, her composure changed. Only slightly. Enough for Jennifer to notice. Sophia folded the report once and looked toward the elevators. Find him, she said. Today, Jennifer found him before 2 that afternoon. His name was Aaron Mitchell, 31 years old, a former Army logistics specialist who had completed 2 overseas deployments before earning a degree in supply chain management from the University of Illinois Chicago. His application had been strong enough to reach the final interview for a regional operations position. The hiring notes described him as disciplined, experienced, and unusually calm under pressure. Then came the morning he had arrived at Halcyon Meridian and spent 47 minutes trying to prove that someone upstairs was expecting him. By the time the mistake was corrected, the interview window had closed. The file ended with 3 words: candidate did not proceed. Jennifer carried the record into Sophia's office shortly after 2. Sophia was standing beside the windows, reading a legal memorandum. She looked up when Jennifer entered. Did you reach him? Yes. What did he say? Jennifer placed the file on the desk. At first, nothing. He thought I was calling to tell him the position had been filled. Sophia closed the memorandum. And when you explained? Jennifer looked uncomfortable. He asked why anyone cared now. Sophia understood the question. What did you tell him? The truth. I told him we reviewed what happened and that the company failed him before he ever reached the interview room. Sophia watched Jennifer closely. Did you offer him the job? No. Sophia gave a small nod of approval. Jennifer continued. I offered him the interview he should have received. Same role level, same hiring standards, no guarantee. He said he would think about it. Good. Jennifer seemed surprised. You do not want me to do more? Giving him a position because we treated him unfairly would replace one bad process with another. Give him the opportunity that was taken from him. Then judge his qualifications fairly. Jennifer absorbed that. I also contacted an outside compliance firm. They can begin the access review Monday. I sent Daniel a draft for the reporting channel, and Facilities is preserving all entrance records from the last 2 years. Sophia looked at the clock. Less than 5 hours had passed since Jennifer had stood between her and the glass door. That is a start. Jennifer nodded, but did not leave. There is something I need to say. Sophia waited. When I apologized earlier, part of me was still terrified because you owned the company. Jennifer's voice was steady now, even as the admission cost her something. I kept thinking about what would happen to my career. Then I called Aaron. She looked toward the window. He told me he had driven 40 miles that morning. He had left home before sunrise because he did not want to be late. He sat in his car for 20 minutes before coming inside because the military had taught him that early was better than rushed. Sophia's expression softened almost imperceptibly. Then he arrived 15 minutes early and still missed his interview. Jennifer nodded. He said the worst part was not losing the opportunity. It was standing there while people looked at him like he was trying to get somewhere he had no right to be. The room became quiet. Sophia's thumb moved once across the worn leather edge of her briefcase. She knew that feeling too well. That was when I understood what you meant, Jennifer said. You owning this company should have had nothing to do with whether I respected you. Sophia looked at her for several seconds. No, it should not have. And Aaron should not have needed a title either. No. Jennifer drew a slow breath. I am sorry for what I did to you this morning. But I am also sorry that it took doing it to you before I finally saw what had already happened to other people. This time Sophia did not tell her to make the apology true. Jennifer had begun doing that herself. Sit down, Sophia said. Jennifer took the chair across from the desk. Sophia opened Aaron's file. When I left the army, I walked into places where people saw veteran before they saw attorney, and other places where they saw black woman before they saw either one. Sometimes those assumptions were positive. Sometimes they were not. What mattered was whether anyone was willing to look again. Jennifer listened without interrupting. Leadership is not proving that you never make a wrong judgment, Sophia continued. It is what you do after the truth makes that judgment impossible to defend. Jennifer looked at the file between them. I want to fix this. Then do not build a policy around me. Build one around the person who cannot call the principal shareholder when the door closes. Jennifer nodded. Her phone vibrated on the desk. She checked the screen, then looked up. It is Aaron. Sophia said nothing. Jennifer opened the message and read it twice. A small breath left her. He will come back for the interview. Sophia closed the file. When? Thursday, 9 in the morning. Sophia glanced toward the glass doors visible far below. Then make sure he enters the same way everyone else does. Jennifer stood, but Sophia added one final sentence before she reached the door. And Jennifer, do not meet him downstairs. Jennifer turned. Why? Because fairness is not special treatment after someone has been wronged. It is a system that works when nobody important is watching. Jennifer held Sophia's gaze, then nodded and left. 3 days later, at 8:43 on Thursday morning, Aaron Mitchell approached the executive entrance with a folder under one arm. Inside the lobby, Emily Carter looked up from her monitor, searched his name, verified the appointment, and pressed the release button. The glass door opened before Aaron ever had to ask. The door opened with a soft click, and Aaron Mitchell paused for half a second before stepping inside. No one rushed toward him. No executive appeared to perform an apology. Emily Carter simply smiled from behind the reception desk and said, "Good morning, Mr. Mitchell. Your interview is on the 18th floor. The elevator on your right is ready for you." Aaron looked toward the security gate, almost as if he expected another question. None came. He tapped the temporary badge Emily handed him. The light turned green, and he walked through. From the mezzanine above the lobby, Sophia Bennett watched without announcing herself. She had arrived early for another meeting, her navy suit as precise as ever, the worn leather briefcase resting against her leg. Beside her stood Jennifer Adams. Neither woman spoke as Aaron crossed the marble floor and entered the elevator. The doors closed at 8:45. Jennifer looked down at the entrance. That took less than 2 minutes. Sophia glanced at her gold watch. That is what it was always supposed to take. Over the next 6 weeks, Halcyon Meridian changed in ways too ordinary to make headlines and too important to remain symbolic. The independent review examined 2 years of access records. Visitor verification was standardized. Familiarity could no longer replace credentials for one person while becoming an invisible advantage denied to another. Complaints went to an outside compliance team as well as internal leadership. Every delayed admission required a documented reason. Employees received training built around real cases from the company's own records, stripped of identifying details, but not stripped of consequence. Jennifer attended every session. She did not sit in the back. She did not introduce herself as the executive leading reform. She listened. When employees described moments they had once dismissed because reporting them seemed pointless, she took notes. When someone challenged a policy she had approved years earlier, she did not defend it simply because her name was attached. Some changes embarrassed her. She allowed them to. Sophia never asked for a public apology. She never sent a company-wide message describing what had happened to her. She understood that justice performed for applause could become another form of ego. What mattered was whether the next person encountered a different door. Aaron completed his interview that Thursday. He was evaluated by 3 managers who had not been told about the earlier incident until after they submitted their assessments. All 3 recommended him. 2 weeks later, he accepted an offer in regional operations based on the experience he had possessed before anyone at Halcyon Meridian had bothered to see it. Marcus Reed, the consultant Jennifer had forgotten, received a personal call from her as well. She did not ask him to forgive the company. She told him what had changed and thanked him for speaking up when nobody had listened. He was quiet for a long time before saying, "Make sure the next person does not have to keep asking." Jennifer wrote those words on a card and kept it inside her desk. Months passed. Chicago moved from summer into the first cool mornings of fall. One Tuesday, Sophia arrived at headquarters just after 8. The lobby looked almost exactly as it had that morning. The same polished stone, the same steel gates, the same glass catching reflections from the street. Jennifer was near reception speaking with Emily when a delivery worker approached the executive entrance, carrying 2 sealed document cases. He was a black man in a navy work jacket, perhaps 50, with a company identification card clipped near his chest. He checked the address, then looked through the glass. Jennifer noticed him. For one brief second, Sophia stopped walking. Jennifer approached the door. She did not wave him toward another entrance. She did not decide what he belonged there to do. She looked at his identification, checked the delivery authorization on Emily's screen, and opened the door. "You are in the right place," she said. The man thanked her and stepped inside. Jennifer held the door because another employee was approaching behind him. Then she looked across the lobby and saw Sophia. Their eyes met. There was no triumphant smile on Sophia's face and no request for recognition in Jennifer's. Only a small nod passed between them. Jennifer returned it. Sophia continued toward the elevators. At the security gate, she tapped her badge and heard the familiar green signal. She could have used the private elevator reserved for ownership, but she stepped into the regular one beside a receptionist carrying coffee and a maintenance employee pushing a small cart. As the doors began to close, Sophia looked back across the lobby. The executive entrance was still open. Jennifer was holding it for an older woman searching through her purse for her appointment confirmation. She waited without impatience while Emily verified the name. Morning light poured through the glass and stretched across the marble floor, crossing the place where Sophia had once stood outside with 7 minutes left before a meeting everyone upstairs believed mattered more than the woman they were waiting for. Sophia rested one hand on the worn handle of her briefcase. Years earlier, military service had taught her that strength was not always the loudest person in the room. The years after had taught her something harder. Having power did not prove character. What mattered was what you did when power finally belonged to you. The elevator doors moved closer together. Through the narrowing space, Sophia saw Jennifer open the entrance wider and step aside so the older woman could pass. No announcement followed. No one applauded. The doors closed, and the lobby disappeared from view, leaving behind only the quiet sound of a system finally learning how to let people in.